Well, another F1 race. Um, 2025 Austrian Grand Prix. They're at the Red Bull Ring. Nice place. Been there a couple of times. Lovely region. Beautiful track. Beautiful environment. Very nice place to be. I've spent quite a bit of time there, and it's a really really nice place. Um, good race in sense that a couple of things happened, but overall, I mean, very predictable from the outset. Even I'd say from qualifying, it was predictable because once we saw that Verstappen didn't have many pace, I think it was a pretty foregone conclusion that the McLarens were just gonna run away and hide. The question would have been just which one of them. And Norris showed decent pace in qualifying, and so what happened, and the race was done from there. Having said that, Piastri put him on a lot of pressure, and he it was a good race from their perspective. I mean, certainly exciting. There was a lot of chances that um, Norris kind of had to really, really withstand, and he did well. I mean, I expected him to make more mistakes, if I'm honest. He made a couple, but I expected him to make more. But he didn't, and he didn't crumble, and he held on and he won, which is more credit to him. Piastri drove very well as usual, but he made a couple of mistakes as well, and one of them at near the end, the one that flat spotted his tires just before that I think it was a right hander. I'll be honest with you, he that was like almost doing the same thing that Norris did the last time. So I think he was really, really lucky to get away with that. Having said that, I think there's no question. I mean, we had said it at the beginning of the year that this is gonna be a McLaren Constructors Championship runaway, and clearly that there is no if but or maybe about it at this point. McLaren has Constructors Championship is over. I would argue that the Drivers' Championship is still in debate, but just now between Norris and Piastri. The likelihood of Verstappen challenging is essentially gone. Mathematically, it's still possible, but there's no real chance. The performance at the Red Bull was abysmal. They've gone backward with these upgrades, it seems. They brought a fair amount of upgrades to this race, and there's nowhere. I mean, literally, the seventh. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And this is a track that Verstappen knows well, has won at I think 5 times already. Um, was on the podium 8 times. I mean, there's just no way that they should be running that slow. So it's clear that these upgrades were retrogressive, and as far as I'm aware, there's no more major upgrade packages for the Red Bull for the rest of the year because their budget, based on how they've allocated it, they're looking more at 2026 at this point. So I think that's it for Red Bull. I mean, this is the best that they're gonna get out of the car. I think they're probably gonna take off back some of those, or they might just try and refine what they have, but that's about it. So there's no way Max is gonna be challenging them. I mean, there may be the odd race where he'll win, but I don't see any change in the McLaren in the status quo going forward. Ferrari and Mercedes are just steady, but they're not closing the gap. They're making their improvements, but they're not truly closing the gap to McLaren. That's not happening. I mean, other than Verstappen challenging the McLarens every once in a while, and Russell, having a good race every once in a while as well. The reality is that nobody's gonna seriously challenge. The Ferraris are not gonna challenge them, nor is the Mercedes. Um, Having said that, I thought Ferrari also drove, had a solid race. They didn't make much mistakes, but ultimately they're, miles behind. There's just no pace genuinely there to challenge for the lead. They really just have to wait for McLaren to have a bad race, or in terms of pace, or have a mistake, like an accident or a mechanical failure. Um, Leclerc, basically, there's not much comment. There's not much to say. This is going to be a short video because things kind of fell into place after that. I thought the incident with Verstappen and Antonelli was just as what it seemed. Antonelli just made a mistake, ran into Verstappen. And I think based on the position that Verstappen was in and the pace that he had in the car from over the weekend, he was it he might have just been relieved that it was over because I don't think he would have made any progress significantly in the race. Never can tell, but I didn't see that happening. So it probably just did him a favor when Antonelli crashed into him and took them out. Notable performances I thought was Bortoleto. Wow, drove well. I mean, Sauber made a big improvement there. Even Hulkenberg was doing pretty well. I think both cars are in the points now. Well, I spoke about Vols and Williams the last time and how well they had stepped up. In fairness, I'm not changing my mind, but the level of unreliability is strange. And Vols is going to need to look into that because I think Albon has now broken down 3 times in a row. That's crazy. I don't think any other team is remotely having those issues like what I say Williams is having. Yes, you'll occasionally have the odd failure. I know Mercedes has had a couple of failures and so on, but this issue that I'm seeing here with Williams, where they're constantly breaking down, and in some cases both cars, that's crazy. That's not normal, and they need to look into that. Something is badly wrong there. Balls need to step up and figure out what's going on there. Yeah, pretty much. As I said, the race was just kind of ho hum. A couple of little skirmishes around the back. Alonso and Stroll and Sonoda. What can I say about Sonoda? What is going on? He's driving. Is he worried that he's going to be fired or something? Because I saw him do some kind of really sketchy driving today. He's always a little, I would say, hot-headed, but he's a good driver, and I'm definitely a fan of his. But today was just ragged. I think the Red Bull has really gone backward in terms of their car development. There's just no pace in the car, and I don't know if panicking is the right word, but he's overdriving it to try to compensate, and boy, getting it wrong. I mean, he made some really, really, really scrappy passes and defenses, and I wasn't impressed. And as I said, he's a guy that I like, so I don't know what's going on there. What else? Yeah, it's not really much more I can say. Generally speaking, unless the other teams make a massive turnaround, McLaren is gone, and it's just everybody's just fighting for scraps. You can't help but think that the looming 2026 season has just entirely sucked up all the development budgets at this point, and McLaren is just coasting, and the rest of the people are also just trying to make the best of what's left. So that's where I'm at. On to the next one.